The objective today is to add, subtract, multiply, and divide functions. To evaluate this set of functions, you have to first start down here with this. And what the notation means is that you have a function divided by c function, or not divided by c, but actually it is multiplied by c function. Whatever you get for this here, you divide it by the d function. So in other words, you're putting a -1 in for the a function, multiplying it by the answer you get for -1 going into c, multiply, divide by whatever answer you get for -1 going into d. So you do this one step at a time. Putting in a -1 for the a function. If I put in a -1 for the a function, I'm going to have 2 times a -1 squared minus 3 times -1 plus 4. That comes out to be 2 plus 3 plus 4, which is 9. So far I have a 9 to put down here. But now I have to put that -1 into the c function. -1 minus 2 will give me a -1. And I can put that right here. But remember, I still have division to do. So I have to put the -1 in for the d function here. When I do that, I have 2 times the quantity of -1 minus 2. That would give me a -6. So I'm going to divide by -6 there. And that takes care of the first set of function notation. I have this minus sign in the middle that I have to carry down here. And now I'm going to subtract whatever I have over there on the right hand side. So I need to put a 3 in for the b function. Putting a 3 in for the b function, I will have this one here to deal with. So I have to shorten up my screen a little bit and come down here to the bottom. 3 into the b function is 4 times 3 plus 2, which is a 14. So I'll put a 14 there. And then I'll have the a function to deal with. Putting a 3 into the a function is going to be 2 times 3 squared minus 3 times 3 plus 4. That's 18 minus 9 plus 4. That's a 13. And remember, it's minus in here between b and a, so I have to put in minus 13. And then plus whatever I get for 3 going into d. So here's the d function, and I'm putting a 3 into it. I'll move down just a little bit. That would be 2 times the quantity 3 minus 2, which is just going to give me a 2. So here's what I have to deal with now. I have a 9 times a -1, and I'm going to move that down here to the bottom so I have more room to work. So I'll just draw an arrow to here and recopy exactly what I have so there's no mistake. And this is what we must simplify. 9 times a -1 is 9. Or a -9, I should say. And if you divide it by a -6, it comes out to be a positive 9 over 6. But you're going to subtract this quantity. 14 minus 13 is 1, plus 2 is 3. So I really have a 9 over 6 minus 3. Simple fraction problem. Get a common denominator. A common denominator of 6, which would make this an 18 on the top. So you end up with a -9 over 6. Reduce that to a -3 over 2 and make it a mixed number. So you should have -1.5 for your final answer. All answers need to be expressed as a fraction that are reduced, and use mixed numbers if necessary. On the practice problem, you're going to start with a. And we're going to put a 4 in for the a function. If I do that, I come back with a 16 times 2 is 32. 32 minus 12 is 20, plus 4 is 24. And then for the b function, if I put a 4 in for the b function, I have 16 plus 2 is 18. And then for the c function, putting a 4 in there, I would have a negative 6. But remember, that's minus c, so it's minus a negative 6. Now on this side, I'm putting a 2 in for the b function and coming up with 10. And then for the d function, putting a 2 in would give me 0. And then putting a 2 in for the c function would give me a negative 4. So to go back and simplify, I'll have 24 plus 18 plus 6 plus 0 minus 4. That's a 42 plus 6 plus 0 minus 4, which is 48 plus 0 minus 4. 48 plus 0 is just 48, and if I take 4 away, I come up with an answer of 44. Your first move here would have to be to find a of 2. And if you square 2, you're going to come up with a 4. And then c of 2. Putting a 2 in here is going to give me a 12. Minus this quantity of bc of 3. If I put a 3 in for b here, that gives me a positive 1. And then 3 into the c function would give me a 17. Now I need a negative 1 into the d function. That would give me a negative 3. And then a of negative 1, that would just give me a 1. So simplify this to get 4 plus 12 minus 17 minus 3 minus 1. That'll give me 16 minus 17 minus 3 minus 1. And then a negative 1 minus 3 minus 1. Negative 4 minus 1 is a negative 5. On this problem, we need to find a of 2 first by putting a 2 in here. When we put a 2 in there, we'll come back with a 5. And we're going to add to that b of 2. Putting a 2 in here gives me a negative 4. So moving over to this area, a negative 1 in for the b function would give me an answer of negative 1. And then a negative 1 into the d function would give me a negative 5. But don't forget that is b minus d. So it's minus a negative 5. On the bottom, we will have the c and d functions, which need a 3 going into each of them. 3 into this one is negative 9 plus 3, which is a negative 6. We have to multiply that by 3 going into the d function. That would give me an 11. And then minus this quantity, a of 2. 2 going into the a function would give me a 5. You have to divide that by 2 going into the d function. That would be a 7. So now let's simplify this to come up with 5 plus a negative 4 is 1. 1 plus a negative 1 is 0, and then minus a negative 5 is 5. On the bottom, we'll have negative 66 minus 5 over 7, which is the same thing as a negative 66 and 5/7. Change that to an improper fraction so that we can easily deal with it. And the 5 on the top can be made into 5 over 1. So on the bottom, we have 7 times 66, and then plus 5 will give me a negative 467 over 7. So when you divide by a fraction, you flip and multiply. So you will end up with a negative 35 over 467.